Okay, what if we agreed to go to the same restaurant, but I don't sit at your table?
Still no. Hard no.
Okay.
Dude, it's been like half an hour arguing about this.
Yeah,
Come on.
you remember the time he asked if he could drink the same water? Remember that?
Surprise!
Oh, hey, Noah. What's the surprise?
I got you guys.
You got us?
How?
Yeah, you know how Eli always does his little pranks based on what the show topic is?
I'd love it if you didn't refer to him as little. I feel like that's inaccurate.
Yeah, I've died. I've died several times.
It's true. Tom died.
Well, this is mine. I knew we were going to do the Nazino affair, so I've been starving myself for the last 10 years to get ready.
10 years?
Yep, I've eaten nothing but flour and water, and pretty sure I have dysentery. You should see you guys' faces right now. It's
No, none of
Yeah,
us were
right.
even in podcasting 10 years ago, so I don't know how.
I hit a witch with my car. It doesn't matter. Did I get you, though?
I mean,
Technically?
maybe
Again,
you-
I ate nothing but flour and water for 10 years, and now I have dysentery. So I should hope.
No, yeah. You got us.
Oh, yeah. You
Noah.
know, sure.
Got us.
Got me, buddy.
Got us real
I
good.
feel so
Yeah,
gotten.
Awesome.
Yeah,
nailed it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's good to
He
know.
Paid off.
All right. I'm going to go shit until I die.
Unrelated, but me too.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Heath, and I'll be hosting today's gathering of white men who all secretly agree with me that socioeconomic cleansing can be done humanely and in a... but
Nope.
all liars. First up, we have white Kim Jong-un and Fidel Castro on Rogaine, Eli and Cecil.
Keith, you mean the second man in history to golf a perfect game and Dennis Rodman's best friend? I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, and Heath, it's not Rogaine, it's Hair Club for Men. You can literally make a clubhouse from what you pull out of my hairbrush. It's like a couch fort.
And also joining us tonight, we have Muammar Gaddafi with gout and a guy who doesn't look like any famous dictators and fucked up my thing, Tom and Noah.
All right, I get a lot of shit, but I believe that my halal foie gras takeout restaurant is going to change the world.
And I get mistaken for Ceausescu basically every time I go to Romania, but fine, fucking whatever. It's not famous enough for you.
Is that those dogs?
All right, so before we get started, let's give a big thanks to our wonderful patrons. Y'all know who you are, and you know why you're better people. And now that everybody knows our friendship is 100% for sale, if you'd like to make a purchase, we'll tell you where to go at the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Eli, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event are we going to be talking about today?
Today, on the recommendation of patron Nephetis, I think.
Nope.
Nephites? Nephetis.
Nope.
The first noise is close.
Nephities. Nephities.
Nephthys.
Nephis.
Nope.
We are going to be talking about the...
I can't even say it right after you say it. It's amazing.
We're going to be talking about the Branzino affair.
I believe it's pronounced Nazi no. And Cecil, you cracked open your weird collection of genocide memorabilia and found us a topic. Are you ready to clansplain?
It's brilliant. I am ready to travel back in time when we were even worse to deportees.
Great. So you think you could start us off with a good segue genocide, to like warm us up? To the real one?
Absolutely. So some people may be familiar with the Holodomor, which killed between 3.3 and 7.5 million people in Ukraine in 1932 and 1933. This was basically a forced starvation of people that lived in the region and probably deserving of its own show. So while things were totally fucked and people were dying of starvation in the west of the USSR. The same thing is happening in the east in Siberia.
Okay. What was that? 3 to 7 million people? Cool. No, that was the perfect terror famine yoga warm up. I'm feeling nice and loose. Good. So when does the Nazino affair begin?
The story starts in 1933. Two of the leaders in the Soviet Party, the head of the secret police and the head of the Gulag system, come up with a plan to deport about 2 million people to some unworked land in Siberia with the overall plan to make that area into farmable land in a few years.
Hand everybody a hairdryer. There's soil below there somewhere, you lazy fucks. Get to it. It's Siberia.
One guy raises his hand. Well, actually, it's probably easier if we burn some fossil fuels. Nerd, boo, boo. James Inhofe hits him in the face with a snowball.
I mean, to be fair, the corpses of people you've worked to death are like the third best compost, right? So, the apple cores, and then...
All right, see, so I know how this one ends. They all get casinos, right? That's how.
It's a casino.
The good ones get casinos.
So the people,
True story.
the people that they were considering deporting were the kulaks, which literally translates to tight-fisted, but more loosely translates to
Mainstream media. I feel like it's mainstream media.
deep state.
it actually loosely translates to affluent peasants. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but these were the wealthiest of 3 classes of peasants, and they own large farms.
Affluent Peasants sounds like a great band name.
Yeah.
It does. That's it.
I mean,
Play an instrument.
but honestly, like, I feel like affluent, peasant, wealthiest, and classes are all oxymoronic when you couple them with communist, right?
Yeah, they are.
So these people were a threat to the government because they relied on it less than the other classes of workers, and they could be somewhat self-sufficient. So the Stalin-led government was doing whatever they could to eliminate or at least bring to heel this group of farmers.
What the fuck? This is like Stalin is some like weird, shitty, codependent boyfriend. Like, what's he gonna do next? Like send flowers, kiss her best friend, and then man cry about his sex addiction?
Yes, actually.
All right, Cecil. So, in terms of the kulak question, they rounded up a bunch of triple parentheses kulaks and sent them to Siberia.
Not exactly, actually. They had every intent to send the kulaks to Siberia, but instead they deported a bunch of people from Moscow and Leningrad.
What?
These people that got deported were all unable to get a government ID, and the government wanted to give passports to everyone that lived in major cities. And they did this to, quote, cleanse Moscow, Leningrad, and the other great urban centers of the USSR of superfluous elements not connected with production or administrative work, as well as kulaks, criminals, and other antisocial and socially dangerous elements.
Okay, I feel like antisocial would include the guys who want to ship millions of people to Siberia, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this sounds like the DMV, but with the stakes of Dachau.
Yeah, I got to clarify already, and I'm sorry, but like they wanted to get rid of the kulaks, and so they deported like a whole different group of people instead. It's like I said, it's like kissing her best friend and then sending her away. It's all very confusing.
I didn't include this, but I think, and it's not connected, but I think it's because after the Holodomor, they ran out of kulaks. That's what I think. I don't know that that's true, but I think that's what the case
There's
is.
just one
There's
kulak
like-
man like busting
like,
through the
no.
door like, oh yeah.
Kulak man. Bravo. All right, so
Genocides are funny.
The Kool-Aid Man's funny. He's filled with blood.
he's a giant skull, half full. Just,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He just hits the wall. He's like, I'm so tired and thin.
Hear a thump from outside.
Sir, you need to go to the beginning of the line and fill out these 9 forms. You're
the proper coupon. Oh, God. All right. So these people that they picked up were, quote, former merchants and traders, peasants who had fled the famine in the countryside, petty criminals, or anybody who did not fit into the idealized communist class structure, end quote.
So murderers, peasants, and people who bring cups to a potluck. You know, the worst of the worst. The worst.
And so the government also missed the mark with the 2 million figure and only deported about 85,000 from Moscow and about 5,000 from Leningrad. And they deported all these people prior to May 1st.
So far, this is just the least efficient genocide ever. Like, are we just spoiled by German efficiency?
Yeah, they missed by a lot. They were trying to get 2 million? Well, I mean, like, what's their next move? Like, 1.9 million people found out they may have already won some valuable prizes in Siberia.
So they stick these deportees into trains and they send them east. They had a daily ration of food that they gave them, and it was 300 grams of bread per person. That's a little over 10.5 ounces. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it turns out it's enough to get your ass beat by the criminals that happen to be on the same train car. Oh, and the criminals also stole their clothes, too.
Naked and Afraid, Siberia edition. Also, bad place to be naked. Very cold, scared turtles everywhere.
Turtles.
You definitely get beat up if you say celiac at any point. Absolutely. So where'd they ship these people off to?
They were deported to the Tomsk region of Siberia. It's in the western edge of it. They initially sent 15,000 deportees to this area, but then even before the scheduled opening, and presumably well before they were ready to have anyone there, they deported 25,000 more to the camp. The people who were running the camp naturally panicked. The wiki article says that the Tomsk authorities viewed the deportees as starving and contagious.
Like, yeah, right. Like people were going to catch starving from them.
Okay, but silver lining, if you're already starving, you can fuck another starving person without a condom. Okay. So that's cool.
See,
right?
This is why we can't do a live show in Cape Town, Heath.
This is not why. This is not why.
There are a lot of people rounded up with proper paperwork that was either confiscated when they were arrested and the officers didn't pay attention to it, or it was taken, and this is great, quote, on the train by criminals who use them to smoke, end quote. And I have no idea what that sentence means.
I do.
Classic excuse making. My dog ate my homework. A criminal smoked my birth certificate.
Like, none of this makes any sense. Like, they wanted to deport people, but then they deported some other group of people instead. And then they deported too many people. And then the people that they deported were again the wrong people. And now Cheech and Chong are smoking everyone's very important papers. What is happening?
So when they arrive in Tomsk, the authorities are particularly worried about the criminals that spent the trip stealing bread and clothes and passports to smoke. So they decide to send those people to the most isolated camps. And it turns out that in Russia, because it's so goddamn big, isolated means 800 kilometers away from Tomsk.
Oh, yeah, you got to get those guys out of there. Like, when you're deporting people to die in the cold, you don't want to, mix your bad guy corpses in with your good guy corpses. Fuck.
They take some barges that were purpose made to haul wood and stick 5,000 people on them. Now, about a third of these people are criminals. They kept all these people below decks when they traveled. They gave them some food, a daily ration of 200 grams of bread, and they also had a large supply of flour, about 4 kilos per person.
How is that helpful?
The problem, though, was that was pretty much it. They didn't pack any other kind of supplies or tools. The wiki says, quote, all supervisory personnel, 2 commanders and 50 guards were newly recruited and had no shoes or uniforms, end quote.
Okay, all right, not for nothing, but those guards are also prisoners.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, man.
yeah. I mean, if they can't spare some shoes for you, you don't work here.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like they're about to build paper mache Atlantis and start a thriving civilization. But before we get to that amazing happy ending that's obviously coming, it's time for a quick break and some apropos of nothing.
Okay, great. Everyone settle down. Cavemen, today We're going to figure out our economic system.
What? Economic system.
What is an economic system, Komar? We've been over this. You know, like
know it.
communism, capitalism, socialism, economic system.
Tag like capitalism. Tag vote capitalism.
Of course.
What? Capitalism good.
Of course, Dag like capitalism. Dag's father leave Chinese rocks for Dag. Mungo want communism.
Mungo only say that because Mungo's dad eaten by pterodactyl.
No, not the point.
Guys, prepositions, please.
Grog has idea.
Grog always has
What we do is we say capitalist while institute several socialist policies, then make boogeyman of hyper-capitalist examples and hyper-communist examples brought on by war profiteering.
So, Tag get to keep rocks?
Thag get to keep rocks.
And Mungo have social safety net?
Mongo have social safety net.
Sounds pretty good. Compromise.
That sound good to you, no illusions?
Damn it, guys, I'm not that old.
Oh, hey Noah, I had this amazing idea.
Oh, those always go well.
No. Hear me out. Imagine if we were able to turn our patrons into super patrons.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I exactly, but I was thinking about our topic today.
I'm going to love this.
Right, I didn't get to finish. See, that is where the super patrons come in.
I'm so lost right now, dude.
Well, I aggressively resettled all our patrons to an isolated island.
You fucking what?
Let me finish. And my plan is for the stronger patrons to consume the weaker patrons. You're not saying anything, so let me keep going. I created a situation where the $2 patrons will, by necessity, eventually eat the $1 patrons.
What? How does that help?
Well, they'll become $3 patrons.
Hello, podcast listeners. We want to urge you to become a patron. We will make sure that you get shows early, hear exclusive content, have access to our suggestion box, and you won't be aggressively resettled.
No promises.
Promises.
Okay.
Go to patreon.com/citationpod and donate today.
I'm not firm on the resettling.
And we're back. When we left off, Russian Thanos was shipping off half of Russia to cold storage. So what's next, Cecil?
Oh, see, okay, so they ship them to a place called Nazino Island. Nazino.
No.
Nazino Island. And the boats land on May 18th. It takes them 8 days to travel the nearly 500 miles from the original camp in Tomsk. The island is a shitty, swampy piece of garbage land about 3 kilometers by 600 meters.
But enough about the dimensions and taste of Chicago pizza.
And enough about things that are 8 days from everywhere, I think, so.
Well, before I was rudely interrupted, the swampy piece of garbage land island was called New York. And so they didn't bother to record who was on the boat, but they did count the women and men. So when they disembarked, there were 322 women and 4,556 men. Oh, and 27 dead bodies because people died on the way up there.
Kind of like a large-scale version of the current U.S. Congress, actually.
Same ratio.
Yeah, about right.
Okay, so let me do this. 14 guys to 1 woman. Sounds like a Comic-Con.
Yeah. Or an atheist con. No, yeah, it probably smells about the same. So I'm guessing 300 grams of bread daily wasn't enough to be super healthy because the article says a third of the people that disembarked were too weak to stand.
Jesus.
A week later, another 1,200 deportees landed on the island for resettlement.
Everyone's knocking their 300 grams of bread out of their hands. Freshies! Circle game.
There's that one like little kid that looks at their 300 grams of bread and still makes you cut it into fucking hexagons without crusts or whatever. I would eat that kid first. I'm just saying I'd eat that fucking kid first.
Spoilers.
Things right away on Fantasy Island were not so great. They start to distribute the only supply that they had to the group, and it was flour. They had 20 tons of it deposited there. The distribution attempt wound up in a great big fight between guards and deportees, and the guards, who did not have shoes, apparently did have firearms, and they opened fire on the people.
And then there was plenty for everyone to eat. Problem solved. Russia style.
Yeah, I'm sure the purge was helpful, but you know there's still a bunch of people putting their dicks in that giant pile of flour. There's no way that's not happening. A giant pile of flour. That's what you're doing.
Like fucking Roseanne Barr.
Yes. You understand. You get me. You get me. It's dry and wet at the same time, kind of. Yes. Right?
And terrible? Yes.
And amazing.
The guards also moved the flour off the island to the bank after this, and there's no mention whether they moved a chicken and a fox at the same time. The guards tried to distribute the flour the next morning. What happened was the guards gave it to selected people that were in charge of distributing it to about 150 people, and these people were called the brigadiers.
Yeah, this seems like one of those promotions like in title only. Like, congratulations, you're a brigadier. Oh, can I have shoes? No.
And those brigadiers were definitely pissed because they clearly had to sift through all the flour and pull out all those cum clumps like with a cat litter scoop. You know what I mean? That's clearly what's happening.
Look,
You're not fucking the flour. Okay, I'm the only one who's fucking the flour. Me and Eli are fucking the flour, and you guys aren't fucking the flour.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Imagine
Liars.
that. You and me, just in either end, high-fiving.
locking eyes.
Yes. Hands like intertwining our fingers.
So the brigadiers happened to be criminals most of the time. They did not distribute it fairly. They also, like I said earlier, had no utensils or supplies other than flour.
Utensils?
They had no ovens, so they couldn't make any bread. And so they mixed the flour with a tiny dash of river water and choked that down.
What?
And what they didn't account for was
So
the human waste that was also in the river, and they got dysentery. So, yay.
Okay, I have so many questions. Like, why bother shipping them 20 tons of flour at all? Like, why not just take them all out into a boat and sink the boat? Just sink them out. This seems, at this point, like a waste of flour.
Yeah.
Well, and more importantly, when you're talking about river water and dysentery, why do we keep returning to Chicago pizza in this essay? Are you hungry, Cecil? Do you need something to eat?
So the deportees tried their best to escape this place, and they had a few things going against them. Here is a short list. They were on an island with no supplies, so most couldn't get across the river.
Okay. Feel like that's kind of irrelevant. Was life going great on the other side of that river?
No.
Yeah, actually, weirdly enough, across the river, a sandals resort.
Or even just sandals at this
It's
point,
all
right?
inclusive, all the flour you could eat. They're in a landscape called a taiga, which is not just a dual land in Magic the Gathering. Evidently, it's a shitty coniferous forest that has poor soil. So who knew?
Cecil, that's a great reference, but nobody who plays Magic the Gathering listens to our show. They can't afford this free podcast.
Also, who plays red green? Whatever. Get a red blue going. Get a volcanic island. Get some counters, you fucking idiot. Grow up.
The only place you could escape to was 500 miles away upstream. So
There's like some
Another
there's just some
bad-
Siberian grandfather trying to tell about his childhood, like, we ate a handful of flour and had to walk to school 500 miles upstream each way.
And finally, if you somehow made it across the river, then made it into the Taiga forest unsupplied, the guards just hunted you for sport.
Just Russian Eli smeared in shit and flour, walking super slow past a guard, singing violin music like blunk, blunk, blunk. Dude, I'm not the predator. I could see you right there. You're right there. And it was mud, by the way.
Potato, giant golden crucifix. What are you going to do?
All right, see, so they hunted him for food, not sport. They hunted for food, all right? Also, like, I would be wearing shoes made of peasant skulls 10 minutes after getting off that boat. Clickety clack, clack, clickety clack.
Even though, you know, there's this big long list of things against them to try to escape, it didn't stop people from trying. Hundreds of plucky deportees tried to lash together makeshift rafts to escape, and the guards coincidentally also found that many drowned corpses on the shore. So.
Right.
Seems like being a guard isn't really, much of a bonus. I feel like that stops mattering really soon if it mattered at all.
Like, can anyone even remember what they were guarding? Again, like, there's nothing here to guard.
Yeah.
Well, 20 tons of flour, I think, or so, but yeah.
Lauren Southern's great grandma sitting on a log blocking people like a goalie.
Okay, so does it start getting all better now, Cecil? Or?
Oh, no, that was only the start. Then things got really bad. Things on the island descended into total chaos. The guards didn't do much except execute people for minor infractions.
Yeah, like having meat bodies.
They didn't try to, say, break up or punish the gangs of criminals. The prisoners started to have large fights where many of them were killed. They fought over everything valuable: food, gold tooth fillings, and money. And before you ask, I don't understand the money and the gold part either, man.
Okay, well, without the gold to back it, the flour was just a Ponzi scheme. No, I understand.
Right.
I mean, at this point, like, I think having teeth is kind of unnecessary. Right?
So the lack of plant-based foods caused people to switch to other dietary supplements. Dead humans.
Yeah.
And the way the article reads, they didn't wait for people to naturally expire. They were just killing
Jesus.
people to eat them at a certain point.
So live
On
humans.
On May 21st, 3 days after they landed there, doctors noted that 70 people had died since they landed, and 5 people had signs of cannibalism. In the next 30 days, there were 50 people or so that were arrested for cannibalism, and the article doesn't say what would be different about being arrested. They left that part out.
Well, I'm assuming the prisoners got the cum clumps of flour, but otherwise the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, Jesus. Doctors? Like, what the fuck were the doctors for? They had doctors. They didn't bring spoons. Even the guards didn't have shoes or food. They had nothing, but they brought doctors. Oh, we don't want anyone to get sick on Cannibalism Island. We gotta bring doctors. Well, doctors?
Fast forward to early June, the Soviets decide that the settlement thing is not working out.
So what gave them that idea? What it made them?
They decide to transfer 2,856 deportees to another settlement a little closer to Tomsk. And I want to point out that there were 6,000 deportees about 3 months earlier. They presume that about 1,500 to 2,000 died from this list of possible causes. Quote, starvation, exposure, disease, murder, or accidental death, end quote. 2,000-ish of the others just disappeared and were presumed dead. And I know these numbers do not add up.
Yeah, no.
And it feels like it's not that hard to make them add up when you have a category called, I don't know, disappeared, other, whatever.
Not here now.
Yeah, like, was now in my belly a listed cause of death?
So now they transfer all these people. 157 of these deportees were just left there because they were too sick to travel. Also, just during the transfer, a couple hundred of these people died.
I'm thinking of the 157 they left behind. Just finally, all the flour we want, boys. Get fucking.
The local Communist Party had sent a letter to Stalin. He referred to the deportees as, quote, outdated elephants. End quote.
Wow. Yeah, I heard there were about 3,000 of those in Puerto Rico. Barely any deaths, though. Just outdated elements.
Yeah. He claimed that 6,114 of the deportees arrived in May. He told Stalin about the lack of shelter and supplies for these people, and he said that 2,200 or so died. The Soviet government decided to start a commission to look into this, and they found that, quote, of the roughly 2,000 survivors from Nazino Island, half were ill and bedridden, and that only about 200 or 300 were physically capable of working, end quote.
That number would have been a lot higher, though, if they'd had podcasting back then. What I'm saying is our job would be easy enough to do if you were starving.
Fucking the flower pile, the podcast. Let's do it.
Yes, we don't need to wait.
Just to add, like, just curious, Noah, how did you get off that island and why aren't you hungry yet?
The Soviets were so outraged that they gave the responsible guards and officers harsh prison sentences of 12 months to 3 years.
The motherfuckers didn't have shoes. Is it their fault?
The Soviets started adding up numbers and found that this and other resettlement projects were not terribly successful. Quote, hold on. Let me read the numbers because it gets better. It gets better. There were 367,457 known untraceable special resettlers, of which 151,601 were dismissed and 215,856 simply disappeared from their settlements, end quote.
I love
What
Wikipedia.
the fuck? It's like Kellyanne Conway doing play-by-play for the Holocaust. Jesus. It's like our special resettlement trains are picking up plenty of outdated elements. People are saying 6 million or 7 million. We have alternative facts that say otherwise.
Dr. Mengele keeps asking the Nuremberg guys if they read his op-ed in the Times. It's weird. Like, we all... Come on, man.
See, so I'm trying to understand, like, what would they have counted as a success with this project? This is
I don't know, but they counted on an abacus made of skulls.
Right.
So I think we have to leave this on an upbeat note. I want to quote from an eyewitness a heartwarming story about a guard and the girl he fell in love with. Quote, on the island, there was a guard named Kostya Venikov, a young fellow. He fell in love with a girl who had been sent there and was courting her. He protected her. One day...
I don't need the flower pile thanks to you.
All right. I'm going to go to the flower pile.
I got you this bouquet of flowers. Anyway, one day he had to be away for a while, and he told his comrades, take care of her. But with all the people there, the comrade couldn't do much, really. People caught the girl, tied her to a poplar tree, cut off her breasts, her muscles, everything they could eat. Everything. They were hungry. They had to eat. When Kostya came back, she was still alive.
That's just mean.
He tried to save her.
The happy part. She's
But
alive.
she had lost too much blood. Now, the quote cuts off there, guys, but I like to think the story ends with, and they lived happily ever after.
oh god.
He's just like, are you hurt? Are you dying? She's like, no, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're obviously, they cut off your breasts and you're dying. Can you just admit you're dying? I'm fine. You're making a big deal out of this. I'm upset that you're making a big deal. I'm not making a big deal. And I'm not raising my voice. I'm staying totally calm.
Maybe if you wouldn't go to the flower pile, your dick would work.
Maybe if you still had breasts.
Hey, guys, I quit the podcast. That's enough of that.
Yeah, me too, Cecil.
All right, Cecil. If you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, disregarding the last minute or so, what would it be?
That you can fuck a flower pile. I have no idea.
Yeah, you synthesized everything correctly.
I'm not a quitter. I'm going to try. I mean,
You can fuck pretty much anything.
Really, any powder, just to be clear. All right. Well, are you ready for the quiz from the panel?
It's not saying much, but I'm more prepared than anyone else in this week's essay. So, yeah.
That is true. All right, I'll go first. So as Noah mentioned earlier and exemplifies every day, you're never too starving or too sick for podcasting work. So what was the name of the Nazino Affair's premier skeptical podcast? Was it A, Gulagnative Dissonance? I'm so proud of that.
That's good, man. It's really good.
B,
Were you?
God-awful living conditions. C, the slept with rats.
Eh.
Yeah, not as good. D, the starving atheist.
I think I'm going to go with my favorite there, god-awful living conditions, which it turns out is also what we're going to call Eli's new house that's filled with asbestos. So.
Filled is such a tricky term, Cecil.
All right, see, so this all sounds bad, but really when you think about what Russians eat now, like a handful of river rocks, flour, and human shit isn't that far off the mark. So which of the below is a real Russian mealtime favorite? A, meat jelly.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
B, layered herring salad. C, raw pig fat.
Okay.
Or D, all of the above. I'd eat every single one of you motherfuckers before having lunch at a Russian restaurant.
So I'm going to go with secret answer E. Actually, all of those are ingredients on New York style pizza.
Very
So,
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
All right. So when they finally make a movie about the Nazino affair, what should they call it? A, The Hunt for Bread October. B, Cannibal Durham.
That's amazing.
C,
Great one.
Three Sisters a la mode. Or D, From Russia with Love.
It's got to be B, because Cannibal Durham is a masterful pun, because Durham is a type of flour. It's fucking brilliant, man.
Cecil,
Bravo.
that is something I didn't fucking know when I wrote it. Obviously, no, it's D. It's From Russia with Love. I'm sorry.
All right, Noah, you stumped him. You are the winner.
Well, I'll tell you what, I haven't spent enough quality time with spell check recently, so I'll say Eli can be next week's essayist.
Yay!
Great.
I'm good at that.
Awesome. All right. Well, for Eli, Tom, Cecil, and Noah, I'm Heath, thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Eli will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can hear Cecil and Tom on Cognitive Dissonance, and you can hear Eli, Noah, and myself on God-Awful Movies, The Scathing Atheist, and The Skeptocrat. And if you'd like to purchase 5 certified organic GMO friendships, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, listen to past episodes, connect with us on social media, or take a look at the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com. And remember, Eli is not a New Yorker anymore. Took away his card.
I'm not. It's true.
And then Mungo say, Mungo gets shiny rocks out of politics, but still take shiny rocks from other cavemen.
Oh, so it seemed like Mungo no care about Shiny Rock now.
Exactly.
This good plan could not backfire.